Back with another episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. Hi, I'm Todd Studer. Told you yesterday, things this week are a little bit different. I told you I was heading out of town, not permanently, but spending several days at Botna Bend Park over in Hancock. And we're going to be bringing you some shows from there and some interviews and kind of get that Campfire Conversations feel going again. Right now, back in the studio. I'm commuting back and forth, but night one is officially in the books. So here we go. Bit of an experience. I talked a really big game, before I left. I talked about how relaxing it was going to be and how I was going to unplug and sit by the fire, let the stress melt away. Okay, here's reality. First off, the setup. I don't have a camper. What I did was brought a big canvas bell tent. Now, if you've never set one of these up, it is a bit of a process. This is not a pop-up tent that you just throw on the ground and then it builds itself. It takes some work, and it can take a little engineering. I've got the process down, so what I did here is I set the camera up to catch kind of a time lapse of the whole thing. So what you're about to see is 32 seconds, but in reality, it took me close to half an hour. So as you can see, it went up and it eventually did get there. It's a great tent. It's very sturdy. It looks good. By the time I got it staked down, the center pole up, all the gear moved in, I was ready for a break, sweating, tired, and the relaxing part, it hadn't started yet. So when I finally got a chance to look around, I noticed the park is a little bit different than you're going to see later this year. If you come out to Botna Bend in the summer, everything's green, trees are full, the grass is thick, but right now there's a lot of black because they just finished a prescribed burn of the prairie grass at Botna Bend. Now, we've talked about prescribed burns on this show before. It is a crucial part of prairie management. Pottawattamie County Conservation Board does this intentionally. They burn off all the dead vegetation, and it controls invasive species, and it returns nutrients to the soil and clears the way for new growth. So it looks a little bit stark out there right now, just a lot of charred ground. In a few weeks, that grass is going to come back greener and healthier than ever. It's this cycle, and it's necessary. But it definitely gives the park a different vibe when you first pull in. And I could smell it. It smells a little bit like a campfire before I even lit one. So the tent is up and the park is quiet, and I get my own fire going. And this is the part that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm just going to sit back in that campfire conversations feel that I was talking about, ready to relax. I'm ready to unplug. And I thought, okay, we've got the fire down well enough to make dinner. So I headed over back to where I had all of the food set, and I put together a pack with, hamburger and potatoes and carrots, and wrapped it all up inside of a aluminum foil. And I turned around to take it back to the fire, and my chair had fallen into the fire. This happened. It was a little bit windy and it blew right in, and that was it, into the pit, and that chair's done. It's a goner, and the entire top half of it has melted and is left with just a frame. So now I'm down a chair, and I'm looking over at this plastic that's melting, and I say, well, okay, this didn't exactly start off in a stellar way. And then I went ahead and put dinner on and sat. And when you work with these aluminum foil packets of food and you're putting it on a campfire, they've got the grate that goes across the fire pit. It's not as if I've got a thermometer in there. And I thought that I had it timed right. Not so much. Those hamburgers that I put in there turned into hockey pucks. And the carrots and the potatoes were good, but it was pretty much charred beef jerky by the time that I got done. But I was hungry, and I ate it anyway. I didn't really have a backup plan. So not the gourmet outdoor meal. I had pictures in my head. So stay out there until the fire goes out, and then it's time to head into the tent and go to sleep. So I went in there again. The intention is to unplug, but my brain wasn't doing that. Wasn't shutting off. I laid there for a long time. My mind was all over the place. I tried watching videos. I tried turning the phone off. I tried everything I could do. I was thinking about the show. I was thinking about the interviews I've got lined up. I was thinking about the emails that I wasn't checking and about the chair that I just burned up. It's really hard to break that cycle, and you're so used to the constant input. The phone is just always right there. The TV's on, traffic outside. It's all gone, and the silence was what I was left with. And I was just hearing wind and my own thoughts, and it was really a tough first night that I was out there, tossing and turning and checking my phone and looking at the time. And next thing I know, it was 2 a.m. And eventually I did drift off to sleep. And then I woke up this morning and the sun was just starting to come up over the Botna River. I could hear the birds, air, a little bit on the crisp side. It was about 56, 57 degrees. So I got the cast iron skillet out and got my campfire stove going, and I made some breakfast. Here, take a look at this. That right there, that makes up for last night's bad dinner. It made up for the lost chair and made up for the restless night. Bacon, sausage, and eggs going in cast iron skillets, nothing better. So even with all the hiccups and all the adjustments, I would not trade last night's experience, not for a second, because it's real. This is what it means to get outside. It's not always perfect. It's not a curated social media post where everything looks effortless. Sometimes your chair burns up. Sometimes you don't sleep well. Sometimes your dinner is terrible, but you're out there and you're doing it, and you're breathing fresh air, and you're watching the sun come up over the river. If you have a leak, a clogged drain, or even if you're planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered. With fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. They're locally owned and trusted and take pride in doing the job right the first time. Residential or commercial, big or small, when plumbing problems strike, they're the ones to call. Visit waldsteinplumbing.com. Tired of hot rooms, harsh glare, and zero privacy? Tint Advantage has the solution. With advanced window film, you can cut heat before it even enters your home or business, reduce glare on screens, and keep your natural light and view. And with smart film, your glass goes from clear to private in seconds. Total control, right at your fingertips. Comfort, privacy, and efficiency, all in one upgrade. Visit tintadvantage.com and take control of your space today. Now, I'm really looking forward to night 2. I think I've got this rhythm figured out a little bit better now. I know what to expect, and I know that I need to keep my chair away from the fire a little bit more. Yeah, I have another one. And also, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the park. Again, Botna Bend, 119 acres right on the West Nishnabotna River. Really a beautiful piece of land. One of the main reasons that people go out there is the wildlife, and they have live herds of bison and elk. I did walk over to the enclosures yesterday evening before it got dark and saw the bison. Incredible animals. You read about them, you see pictures of them, but standing just on the other side of the fence from a 2,000-pound animal, that's a little bit different. I saw they were grazing. One was down in the water, moving just kind of slow. They have this massive presence, and you look at them and you realize, really, you're looking at history. These animals used to cover the plains, millions of them, and they reshaped the landscape. Pottawattamie Conservation Board, they've been managing the herd since the 1960s, and this is a huge commitment. They have to feed them, they have to care for them, they have to maintain those fences that keep them on the other side. And I did see the white bison that were there, and it was beautiful. And I'm going to head back out again tonight and look again with this rare genetic trait. For a lot of Native American tribes, a white bison is a sacred symbol. It's a big deal that we have one right here in Pottawattamie County. Now, I haven't seen the elk yet, but I heard that I will be able to soon. They're not going to necessarily operate on my schedule. They're just going to do what they want. So I'm hoping I'll get a look at them tonight. Elk, they're majestic, especially when they get together and you see that massive amount of animals there. And when you're there in the fall, maybe you can even hear them bugling. That is a sound that you really want to hear. So learning about prairie ecosystem, learning about conservation, and this is what that conservation board does so well for Pottawattamie County. They don't just preserve the land. It's there to teach. They've got those adventure packs at the lodge. I saw the signs up talking about, take your kids out, go at your own pace. You're not in a race on this hike. Take everything in. Get the binoculars and the bug boxes and the track identification cards, everything that you need. And that is the whole point of this trip for me, is getting off of these. There you go. I mentioned last night how hard it was to sleep, how my brain wouldn't shut off. That's a symptom of the world we live in. We are constantly connected, constantly processing information, and we don't give our brains a chance to rest. So out camping kind of forces you to slow down, and everything just takes longer. Making coffee this morning was not just pushing a button and walking away. I have what is known as a jet boil. So it does boil pretty fast, but you got to put the water in. You got to get the propane lit. And I'm using instant coffee this time that I got from NAMI Southwest Iowa, and it is actually pretty good. I put 2 packets in instead of 1, but it's still pretty good. But all of that waiting that I'm talking about is actually good for you, and it gives you time to think, or better yet, time to not think. You have time just to watch the fire, and I'm guessing tonight's going to be a little bit better. The weather has been beautiful, and I'm hoping the quiet feels a little less loud, and I'm hoping I can just sit there and be present. We've still got a lot coming up this week. I'm not just sitting around burning furniture and eating bad food. We have some great interviews lined up. I'm going to be talking with Anna Kilpack. She's the director for NAMI Southwest Iowa. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we're going to talk about the NAMI Walks event that's coming up on May 27th. That's in Clarinda. It's going to be a huge event and for a very important cause. Mental health, something that we need to be talking about openly. For a long time, we didn't. People didn't want to talk about it, and they didn't want to admit that they were struggling. But that is changing. And organizations like NAMI are leading that change. They provide support. They provide education. They advocate for people who need help. The walk in Clarinda is a way to raise awareness, and it's a way to raise some funds. But most importantly, it's a way to show people you're not alone. When you see hundreds of people walking together for mental health, it sends a powerful message. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with Anna, and we're going to do it at the park by the fire. Well, maybe by the fire, but we will be outside. The perfect setting for a real, honest conversation. Later on this week, Stacy Kinney is going to be here. Actually, she'll be joining me at the park. Stacy's with WIDA, Western Iowa Development Association. And we're going to talk about economic development, and it is the lifeblood of our communities. So if we want our small towns to survive, we need businesses, we need jobs, we need housing. WIDA is on the forefront of that. They work with businesses and local governments and help secure funding, and they help navigate all of that red tape. Stacy always has some great insights. She knows what's happening all across Pottawattamie County, and she knows what the challenges are, and she knows where the opportunities are. We're going to talk about the latest news, what's growing, what's changing, what the future looks like for rural Pottawattamie County. Looking forward to a good conversation. Again, relaxed, unscripted, outside at Botna Bend. So that is what that Campfire Conversations feel is about. You get out of the office and you get people away from their desks, put them in a camp chair, assuming that I have another one that hasn't been burned up, and we're just going to talk. You get better answers, you get better stories, and I'm going to be talking also, hopefully connecting with John Fenner, the park ranger at Botna Bend. I want to hear his perspective about what's going on because he's out there every day. He sees the park in all the seasons and deals with the folks that come out in the summer, deals with the quiet in the winter, works with the bison and the elk, manages river access, deals with weather. And we're going to learn what that is like for him and find out what his biggest challenges are and what are the biggest rewards. The Conservation Board does incredible work. They manage over 2,300 acres across the county. They maintain the trails. They keep the facilities clean. They protect the natural resources, and they do it on a tight budget. It takes dedicated people to make that happen, people like John, and I'm looking forward to highlighting his work. And also, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the West Nishnabotna River. It's right there, and you can hear it from the campground. It's just a constant presence. The river has a lot of history. It was a major travel route for Native American tribes, a lifeline for early settlers. In the early 1900s, they channelized part of it and dug straight channels to move the water faster and reduce flooding. It did help agriculture, but it hurt the river ecosystem. So there's a big push to protect what's left. The Iowa DNR, as we mentioned before, designated it as a state water trail, 26 miles of designated trail. Perfect for kayaking, canoeing, and tubing. And when rubber duck outfitters get going again, they make it easy to get on the water. And I'm hoping to get out there later this year and take advantage of that when rubber duck outfitters are going again. You can see the park from the water. It's a completely different perspective. You know, when you're out on the river, you move at the speed of the current. You can't rush it. You're just floating. You see the undercut banks. You see the exposed roots of the old trees. You see the turtles sunning themselves. It's peaceful. And it's exactly what I'm looking for. That is the beauty of Botna Bend. You have options. Hike the trails, watch the bison, float the river, or just sit by the fire. It's a great resource for Pottawattamie County. Hancock's a great town, too. A lot of pride, and the Botna Bend Park is a big part of that. So when people come to float down the river or camp by the park, you know, they stop in town, and it's a good partnership between the town and the park. So I'm headed back out there to spend some more time this week. I'm going to be getting the rhythm down a little bit more. Going to be figuring out this camp cooking. Yeah, I learned a lesson last night. Keep my chair away from the fire. And I'm going to be bringing you more of these stories. That's what Pottawattamie County Roots is all about, telling the stories of this county, the people, the businesses, the places. We have a lot of pride and a lot to be proud of here. Great communities, hardworking people, and incredible natural resources. We need to appreciate them, and we need to use them. So if you haven't been to Botna Bend, make a plan. Now, here is the thing. This Saturday, all across the park system in Pottawattamie County, it's a free Saturday. So doesn't cost anything to go. Usually it's $3 to get into Botna Bend, $5 at Hitchcock. It's completely free. So whatever park you go to, Rivers Narrow Park, or Narrows River Park, that's the way that's said, or Hitchcock or Botna Bend, or maybe you want to go to Arrowhead, or if you are going to Old Town Park, entry is free this Saturday. Now keep in mind, that doesn't mean free camping. You still have to pay for camping if you're going to go. But there is no charge to just spend the day at the park this Saturday. So go see the bison, walk the trails, let the kids play. You know, it's right here in our backyard. And morning coffee supported by Bryce Taylor and GLI Insurance Group, serving Council Bluffs, Tabor, and Clarinda. Springtime in Iowa. A good time to take 5 minutes and make sure your home, vehicles, and anything you're pulling out for warmer weather are properly covered. Bryce and the GLI team live and work right here in our communities and are always happy to help you head into spring with confidence. GLI Insurance Group. Local service, all seasons. Good mornings start with peace of mind. My Nurse Healthcare provides professional in-home support where it matters most, helping individuals maintain comfort, dignity, and independence in their daily lives. Their experienced nursing team focuses on personalized care, clear communication, and supporting families through every step of the process. It is healthcare built on trust, compassion, and real relationships. Learn more at mynursehealthcare.com. Also, I mentioned about the camping experience. A lot of people have this idealized version of what camping is from the commercials and the Instagram posts, that perfectly lit tent, the smiling family. It's not real camping. Real camping's messy, dirty, and unpredictable, and that's exactly why we need to do it. My experience on day one, it was that. We spend too much of our lives trying to control our environment. We control the temperature in our houses. We control the lighting. We control the noise. We build these little bubbles of comfort, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like air conditioning, but when you control everything, you lose your ability to adapt. And you lose your resilience, and you get soft. Yeah, that's what I was feeling last night, was soft. Camping forces you to adapt, and you can't control the weather. If it rains, you get wet. If it's cold, you put on another layer. And if your chair burns up, well, you find another chair, or maybe you just find a log. It reminds you that you are capable of handling discomfort, and it reminds you that you don't need a perfectly controlled environment to be okay. That is a powerful lesson, especially for kids. So, if you have kids, take them camping. Let them get dirty. Let them be uncomfortable for a little while, and let them figure out how to entertain themselves without one of these. You know, you might get a little complaining at first, and they probably will, but by the end of the weekend, they're going to be out in the woods, and they're going to be checking for frogs down by the river, learning how to build a fire, learning how to set the tent up, learning that you can survive without Wi-Fi. Those are the skills that translate to the rest of our lives. Resilience, adaptability, problem solving. You don't learn those things sitting on a couch. You learn them when things go wrong, and you learn them when the dinner burns, and you have to figure out a backup plan. Again, that's what happened to me last night. And honestly, I think it was good for me. It was a reality check. I'm looking forward to the rest of the week, and I'm looking forward to the interviews. I'm looking forward to the conversations, but I'm also looking forward to the quiet moments, the moments when the recorder is off and when the fire is burning down and when the only sound you can hear just faintly is the river. Those are the moments that recharge the batteries. Those are the moments that give you the energy to come back to the studio here and do the work. We all need those moments, and we all need a park like Botna Bend. So find yours. Make the time. Put it on the calendar. Don't wait for the perfect weekend. You don't have to have all the perfect gear. Just go. You can take a cheap tent. That works. Take some hot dogs and take a good attitude, and you'll be glad you did. And speaking of gear, I want to talk about that for a second because I think that's another thing that holds people back. They think that they need to spend a fortune on an outdoor store before they go camping. You really don't. You just need a tent that keeps the rain off and a sleeping bag that keeps you warm. And you need a way to make a fire and need a cooler for your food. That is the baseline. Everything else, just a luxury. I brought the big canvas bell tent this time because I'm out there for a week and I'm using it as a base camp for the show, but I've spent plenty of nights in a small little dome tent from a big box store. You know what? Fire feels exactly the same. Stars look exactly the same. Coffee tastes exactly the same. So don't let the gear be the excuse. If you don't have a tent, borrow one. If you don't have a sleeping bag, bring blankets. People have been sleeping outside for thousands of years without high-tech synthetic insulation. You will survive a weekend in Iowa. The point is the experience. The point is the connection. When you're sitting around a fire with your family or your friends, you're not talking about the thread count of your sleeping bag. You're talking about life and telling stories and laughing. That is the Campfire Conversations feel, and that's what we're trying to capture this week. So I'm really excited about the interviews we have lined up. Anna Kilpack from NAMI, Stacy Kinney from WIDA, John Fenner from the park ranger at Botna Bend, people who are making a difference in our county, and they're doing the work. They have great stories to tell. Getting them out of the office and out to the park is going to be a change of the dynamic for those conversations. It's going to make them, I think, feel more real and more authentic. I'm also hoping to talk with some of the other campers out there. I haven't done it yet, but I have seen some folks moving around. It's a great thing about a campground. It really is a community. People are friendly. Everybody waves. They're relaxed and willing to talk. I want to find out why they came to Botna Bend, and I want to know what their favorite part of the park is. I want to know what keeps them coming back. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of different answers. Some will say the river, some will say the bison, and some will just say the quiet. But I think the underlying theme will be the same. We all want to disconnect and recharge, just like I did. Even with the burned chair and the bad dinner and the restless night, I'm already feeling the benefits. I'm already feeling a little more grounded, a little more focused. That's the power of the outdoors. It resets your baseline. So I'm headed back out there, and I'm going to get that fire going again. I'm going to find a log to sit down on if I have to, and I'm going to get ready for night 2. I'll be bringing you updates all week. We'll have the interviews. We'll have the stories and some sounds from the park. It's going to be a great week for Pottawattamie County Roots. I'm Todd Studer, and get outside this weekend. Don't forget, it's free at Pottawattamie County Parks this weekend. Great time to go. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning.